Estamos en vivo, profesores.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our virtual cycle of meaningful experiences educating in times of pandemic. We are and we make history. For our next presentation, we have Professor William Alexander Mora Menjura. He holds a bachelor degree in modern languages and a master of arts in language teaching from Universidad Pedagógica y Tecnológica de Colombia. Currently, he is a full-time teacher and a member of IMPLE Research Group in UPTC Sogamoso headquarters. His interests are focused on critical literacy, curriculum design, and formative research. Professor William, welcome. The audience is yours.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Okay, let me share my screen. Okay. So, okay, I hope you all are doing okay. Welcome to my presentation entitled Challenges of Evaluating Online Learning. Well, in this case, we will discuss, or I try to discuss a little bit about what has been during this time about the thing of evaluating online learning. So in this case, one of the main questions of this presentation is, what is it that we must actually evaluate in online learning, taking into account that not many students turn their microphone or camera on to participate? Well, I have to say that this is part of a study that I'm doing here in the university. What I have talked to teachers, what I have found in some studies, in some research, is some teachers from other universities or maybe schools, is that we have wondered about this, right? So what is it that we actually evaluate? The effort that the students do, the responsibility, and maybe their attendance, that everybody can attend classes, and I just rate that. Maybe quality, the quality of the workshops or homework, maybe the quantity. So what is it that we evaluate in face-to-face lessons and in online lessons, knowing that, for example, we most of the time we do the same. So we apply quizzes, we send workshops, we design some homework, we do presentations, we do collaborative, and we try to foster collaborative and group work skills. So what's the difference between evaluating in face-to-face lessons and in online lessons? And one of the things that I have found the most worrying thing is the trustworthiness. So who's doing the handwriting, right? Because we cannot have, or we cannot be sure about that, because most of the time we don't have the visual contact with our students. So one of the things that most of the teachers have stated or have said or maybe have thought is a word that maybe worries most of us, that is trustworthiness, right? I have to say that I'm focusing this study basically with what happened with English teachers, okay? So I don't know how maybe other teachers are carrying out this situation, right? Well, based on Cairns 2012, we basically find 5 things, right? Or basically, we do 5 things when we try to evaluate online learning. One of those things is the written assignments, right? So in this case, we have research papers, case study responses, short essays that we just ask our students to do, right? The other thing is the online discussion. So we have maybe forums, maybe questions for students to discuss, right? Sometimes with asynchronous discussions. We also have field work. So this is a special type of written assignment requiring students to collect field data when we do research. This is my case, for example, in this semester, or to write maybe just many reports. Also, we apply also tests, quizzes, exams, and in this group are traditional assessments composed of multiple choice. Well, that's most of the times what we do also in face-to-face lessons or short answers questions, and also presentations. right? So this category includes student presentations given the absence of face-to-face communication. The presentation delivery format had to be adapted for the online environment. So in this case, there is a word that maybe most of us are using in this case during this time, and it's the word rubrics, right? So we were not prepared for this, so we had to design or to adapt the way that we usually use to evaluate. But I'm going to talk about that later. Well, the common challenges that I have found with the teachers that I have taught, or maybe with the things that I have read when we evaluate online learning. So the first one has to do with essays, reports, and project presentations, right? So, and one of the main concerns here is the plagiarism, right? If our students maybe like from where are they collecting or obtaining the data that they are using, the information that they are using, right? Who is doing that? So those are one of the common problems that for example, English teachers have faced in this moment. What some of them or what most of them have done. The second thing has to do with oral examinations. Well, you know that the first thing has to do with written exercises, right? When we ask our students to write essays, to write reports, to write presentations about their projects. So in the second case, we have oral examinations. So this is more focused on the oral part. And one of the main concerns or one of the main things that I have analyzed here is about the score, right? So what determines a 3.4 or maybe a 3.5? If we analyze the scale that we normally use to evaluate, we have from 0.0 to 5.0, right? So that means that we have 50 numbers to evaluate. So what determines if a student get just 3.2 or maybe 4.1 in 50 numbers that I have to evaluate, right? So that has been one of the main problems that teachers maybe have found, right? Well, also a common problem that we find with face-to-face lessons, okay? And also the exams. Maybe this is the most worried part when we apply the exams, right? And the word maybe again has to do with trustworthiness, okay? Well, that word means, well, everybody knows that word means a lot. Okay, so should we believe in our students? Should we create that space or maybe that environment that they are actually doing what they are doing, right? Because, well, you know that the difference with face-to-face lessons is that any way or somehow we will have them in our classroom in the space that we share with them. But well, in this case, talking through a computer that maybe most of them don't pay attention, just turn the computer on, but not the camera or maybe the microphone, becomes a little more like challenging, right? So of course, yeah, there are many platforms now, and there are many apps, and there are many things that we can use in order to apply. But well, we must recognize that most of us were not ready for this, and even the university was not ready to do this, right? So in this case, well, I have these three others, and they thought that evaluating online learning will have some things that I'm going to share. The first one has to do with the time management. You know that for most of us, even that we are working in our house, the time is not enough, right? To prepare, to check things, to work through a computer. So the time is not enough. It's very weird because most of the times when we are having like face-to-face lessons, we almost do the 2 hours of lessons, right? But now that we are working through a computer, maybe online classes, most of the teachers said that they don't use or they don't use the 2 hours, but just maybe 1 hour or 1 hour and a half. So that means that we may have more time, but the case is different. So one of the main problems here is the time management. Then we have the student's responsibility and initiative, right? So I don't know, maybe for most of us has happened that who wants to talk? Nobody wants to talk. Are you listening to me? So they most of the time they don't have the initiative to talk. So that make us wonder, like, what are they doing that they maybe don't want to talk or maybe that cannot talk, right? Also, the structure of the online medium. Okay, well, that has to do with this about technology, the way that they are using, what are they using, why they are in classes, well, etc. Well, also we have the complexity of the content. So in this case, we are most of the teachers including me, are applying the same content and topics that we normally use in face-to-face lessons. Okay, and finally, the informal assessment. So how is it that we are doing that assessment. So that happened to me, or that this study started like some weeks ago when one of my students like started talking, doing his presentation, and then well, he was just talking and talking and talking, and I was just wondering all the time like, why is it that we, or maybe most teachers, evaluate when we are doing evaluating online learning, right? Because well, in that moment he didn't have like a camera, so I don't know if he was like really talking or maybe another person. So that one of the main or common challenges, right? So in this case we have four types of evaluation, right? Or, well, as the theory says, well, it helps teachers and learners to improve teaching and learning. So that's the main goal: improve, right? The teaching and learning, both things. Evaluation is a continuous process and a periodic exercise. It helps informing the values of judgment, educational status, or achievement of a student. So maybe when we just try to evaluate, and this is, I think that most of the people who are here are teachers, is just thinking, or maybe those are reflections that we have to think about. That is, what is it that I am doing with evaluation with my students? So what do I want when I evaluate my students, right? Since we have placement evaluation, a formative evaluation, diagnostic evaluation, and summative evaluation. But I have found that most of the things, the two more types that we use is formative evaluation and summative evaluation. And when we use summative evaluation, well, you know that everybody knows that we have to use numbers, right? So where are those numbers from? Okay, or how the students can get those numbers. So what determines, as I said before, that I am a 3.5 or maybe a 3.0 or maybe a 3.4, right? Because, well, it doesn't matter if we agree or not, or if we like or we don't. But that's the scale or maybe the system that we have. We have to use numbers, right? And also the formative evaluation, maybe when I just give or try to give some feedback to my student, trying to show him like what is wrong or what is right with his work. Well, I have found some studies because for me it has been a little bit weird that, for example, in my case, in my personal case, and the case, most of the cases that of the teachers that I have talked to or maybe interviewed, is that most of the students are getting higher grades than the ones that they used to get in face-to-face lessons. But I have to say that, for example, English here in Sogamoso from this semester it started being different, right? So we don't have like more grammar anymore, like in the six or maybe 4 or 5 levels, but we only focus on grammar in the first and second level, right? Then in third and fourth level we have critical thinking, and in fifth and sixth level we have research, right? Research foundations. So in this case, most of the things that, for example, I have done or we have done in English 3 and 4 are activities based on critical reading, right? Of course, the workshops that they develop are perfectly or almost perfect in terms of grammar, right? So the grades that they are getting in this case are higher. But this study, as I am showing, doing by Shu and Smith, shows that most of the times that kind of learning or that kind of evaluation and teaching online, most of the time is negative, right? So in this case, one of the questions that I try to do is why are students obtaining higher and better scores than the ones that they get in face-to-face lessons? Well, I have to say that it has not only passed in English classes, but I have the opportunity to talk with other teachers, maybe of math, chemistry, physics, and they have said the same, that the workshops that they have implemented, the grade has been a little bit higher and better. So maybe at the end we will have the opportunity to talk about this, like why. But some of the reasons that I have found and talked to other teachers is that maybe it's because of the use of immediate technological resources, like, for example, internet, WhatsApp, YouTube, right? Also, we have the translators. Well, I cannot say that because once a teacher said like translators are like our enemies, right? That is our big enemy because the students also always use it. But I don't agree with that, right? Well, in this case, I have asked my students, well, if you want to use translator, but I mean, just do it. It's just a tool, right? A virtual tool that you have to use. but just pay attention and focus on what you are translating, right? So that is not considered an enemy, but maybe different if, with face-to-face lessons. Maybe they don't have the translator immediately, right, in their phones because they just can't get their phones out or something like that. But as we are not seeing them in their houses or in their living rooms or wherever they are, we are not using or knowing if they are using them or not, right? And whether they have more time, right, to do the activities. Also, one of the main things here again, here is the identity, right? The trustworthiness again. So maybe in this case, I have a student. He saw classes with me last year. Her grades were really low last year, but this semester have been awesome, have been great. Well, the thing here is if I have to discuss that because I know her already, or if I don't, and just continue, right? Well, I have just this image here, where it says, "Honey, it's been 45 minutes. I don't think he's going to call on you," right? So the girl is raising just a hand to participate. So that tells or that portrays most of the things that we are facing in this moment, right, with online courses. And what about the student's identity and the multifaceted ways they have to learn, right? So, who is actually? So, I just posted these questions just maybe to discuss at the end or just to reflect about them, right? And it's who is actually developing the activity, okay? Because the students just send the activity through Facebook or through WhatsApp or through Classroom or through Moodle, the platform that the student that the teacher uses. But who is actually developing the activity, right? Who are our students? Because you know that we have read a lot about pedagogy and didactics and many things, and one of the main things or most important things in pedagogy is maybe knowing our students, right? Have any kind of contact with them, know their feelings, their emotions, even their faces, the way they act, behave, etc. And also what are they doing behind the screen, right? Because most of the time the teacher is the one that shows his face, talked, and but most of the times the students just are behind the screen, and sometimes when we call their names they just don't appear. So this is a big problem, right? This is one of the challenges that we also have. Also, everything, it seems that everything was reduced to online learning, right? So we have total physical response in this case for the different methods that we have to learn English, maybe a second language. We have TPR, we have second wave, we have many methods, but it seems that everything was reduced to online learning, right? So nobody was prepared for this, but everything is reduced to this, okay? Also, one of the main concerns or maybe questions is that we can combine the different learning styles that the students have with online learning, right? Because you know that we have mainly three learning styles, which is the visual. In our classes, we use videos, pictures, illustrations, images. In the auditory, we show some videos, group discussion, oral presentations that they have in front of their students, of their partners, and also the kinesthetic. So when we do role playing, face-to-face meetings, hands-on activities, many things that we normally or that we were prepared to do in face-to-face lessons, right? So, I mean, is there a way that we can combine all these learning styles with online learning? Because it seems that I don't mind if you learn through pictures or discussions or maybe role playing or face-to-face meeting or whatever your way is to learn. But in this case, you have to maybe listen to me through a screen as you are doing in this moment, and just pay attention to the workshop that I'm gonna send, and then just send it back, and that's it. You're gonna receive your grade, and that's it. Okay. And how are teachers carrying out this situation, right? Since most of us were not well trained for this. Okay, so what I have found, or what I have discussed with some teachers, what I have found in research is that one of the main things that we have to do is just have our students to achieve the target learning objective, right? So, but that means a lot because, well, even if we are talking about online or maybe face-to-face lessons, I think that most of the times that's what we do, right? Or what we try to do, and is to help the students achieve their target learning objective. Okay, so in this case, some teachers said that the way that they are facing or carrying out this situation is that by the use of rubrics. Right, I'm going to share the one that I designed. So some of them just use rubrics, but it makes me think that, so if we didn't have, or maybe let's suppose a situation that we didn't have the COVID situation, so the teachers were not using rubrics, or I mean, the question is the rubrics only used because of some abnormal or uncommon situations like this one that we are having? Also the consciousness, okay, being conscious about this situation, so having in mind that this semester has to be different. So what means different, right? So that's what I have asked them, that for example, maybe for some of them they don't have to maybe to put like a lot of work, or to design like many workshop for students because this semester is different. So yeah, we know that maybe this semester is different in the way that we are used to do face-to-face lessons, right? But what's that? I mean, going beyond what's that? And also being realistic that the students won't learn too much. So that's one of the answers that most teachers said. Well, we have to be realistic, right? Or that students will learn the same that they normally learn when they have face-to-face lessons. So it seems that everything is like negative, right? Because there is not enough trustworthiness of students. Maybe some teachers are using rubrics and they didn't used to do it. Maybe having in mind that this semester is different, maybe that the students won't learn that much that they used to learn when we had face-to-face lessons. And well, this is just a contribution that I found, and it's whether online learning can be as effective as traditional educational approaches, and which online models are the best. Okay, so some people say that, for example, we are so far from a good online or maybe virtual education. So, but meanwhile, we are in the process. So what does it mean, right? What if we just have to continue with this maybe during the next semester? So that means that, for example, the students lost their time during 1 year in terms of learning. So there are many questions about things that I just wanted to present what I have found through my study and in research. And this is just like a space for reflection. I'm going to share the 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 rubrics that I have designed that has helped me a lot, and that has made me also think about my role as a teacher and as evaluator, right? Like why when I decide to put a 3.4 to a student, why not 3.3 or maybe 3.5, right? So what I have said or what I have found is that this has allowed me to be a little bit more objective and clear about the grade that they are getting, right? So in this case, I took into account the three knowns based on Sergio Tobon, right? And it's to know, to do, and to be. And in to know, I just posted some subcategories or maybe some items that has to do with grammar, clarity of written when the task is written, or maybe spoken English, their knowledge that they have, and maybe some preferences in order to avoid like plagiarism, right? And also with to do if they follow instructions, because one of the things that I have seen is that with online learning, maybe instructions become a little more difficult because the teacher is not in front of the students saying what they have to do or the way they have to do it. Also organization and coherence, the way they organize and are coherent with their tests or the tasks, and also the presentation, right? And in the same way, to know to be the values, right? If they are responsible and with their homework. When I apply these rubrics, in order to give like like an evaluation and not become or not make the evaluation more challenging for me, right? I don't need to always take into account all the items, right? So it depends on the task, and we decide with the students what items we are going to take into account. I have seen that most of the times grammar is almost 4 or 5, knowing that most of the students, and I have worked here for almost 3 years in this university, and I have known my students, right? I have learned to learn. I have learned to know my students, so their level is not the best, right? Maybe in terms of grammar, but now I have seen that grammar, the score of grammar is 4 or 5, right? So yeah, that makes me think a lot about this. Like, what are we doing? Are we doing the things well or not? Well, yeah, that's the thing that I just wanted to share today about like all the things that we have or maybe face when we have to face, sorry, the evaluation part. Okay, and with the part of maybe exams or tests, in this case, we apply mostly tests or exams with the students of level 1 and 2 because this is grammar. So we ask our students to turn their computers on, microphones on, camera on, like everything on, just to see who is around them. But that has to do with the same, right? The same problem is trustworthiness. So please turn your camera, turn your microphone. I need to see you. I need to see who is around you because you are the one who has to talk. You are the one who has to participate to do the things, and maybe the teachers who know how to share their screen and see what their students are maybe searching and doing besides it's good. But for the ones that don't know, so we just trust that our students are answering without using translators or any help or something like that, right? So these are the references that I use for this presentation. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Professor, for such an interesting topic. I think that we all as teachers felt really connected to this topic because we need to get a lot of strategies every day to understand lots of things in terms of evaluation in order to use the most appropriate one, taking into account the situation, right? Well, so we have some comments from the audience. Julie Paola Morales says, I agree, we trust students, but there is going to be a risk about the responsibility and honesty. We have another comment from Gladys Saavedra. Interesting topic. Evaluating virtually is not easy. Students tend to copy and paste the info a lot. There is a question from Vladimir Andres Alarcón. How can we support our students when they take an oral exam in this time of pandemic? How can we support our students when they take an oral exam in this time of pandemic?
Well, I'm reading the question here. How can we support our students when they take an oral exam in this time of pandemic? Well, yeah, this is one of the things that we have to face, right? And it's the maybe when we are in face-to-face lessons, the support is easier, right? But when we have these problems of maybe connections that they cannot receive, that maybe because of the time, so you only have 10 minutes because I need the other person to start. So the support becomes a little bit harder, right? So it's an interesting question that we all teachers have to think about, right? Like, how can we support our students when they take an oral exam in this pandemic? So that maybe refers to one of the comments that the teachers said, that we have to be, or that we have to bear in mind that this semester is going to be different. So don't pay attention too much to the mistakes or maybe to the feedback because, well, there is not much to do in this case. So.
Okay. Well, we've got another comment. Joanna Rodriguez Bernal says, I also use rubrics. It's very important to let the students know what is going to be evaluated and what is the objective to be achieved. Nancy Esperanza Barón Pereira asks, how to evaluate students when they are under different emotional situations, fear, hopelessness, uncertainty. How could we evaluate?
Yeah, definitely, and that's why maybe one of the things that I decided to write in my rubric is the to be part, right? Not only the importance about knowledge, but also to take into account their responsibility, their maybe to be on time on classes, how they feel, because some of them have talked to me, hey teacher, I just have one computer, I couldn't get connected to the class, I feel very sad. So it's not easy to achieve all the things because we were not prepared for this, right? Teachers and professionals and many people have felt like very sad with these situations. So those are challenges. Those are challenges that maybe we don't, or maybe we are not used to facing in face-to-face lessons. So that's why my research about how to carry out those things, okay? Because well, in face-to-face lessons, the situation is totally different, right? Students have the opportunity to talk with others, to go and drink a coffee, to do many things. But here in this case, they are just focusing on their classes in their house and doing their house duties, and that's it. So yeah,
Okay.
that's why one of the comments of Joanna said the importance of rubrics, right? Because we are not only like machines or something like that, but we have to take into account like many other things.
Okay, Professor. So thank you very much. We really appreciate your presentation. I think we all learned a lot. And friends, we invite you for our next presentation. Please don't leave us, or better, go to the next room and get ready for our next activity. Have a good
Okay.
afternoon. Bye
Thank
bye.
you.
Bye bye, Professor.
Thank you very much to everybody. Bye.
Okay, bye bye.